You're listening to In the NoCo, a daily slice of Northern Colorado news and happenings. It's Thursday, November 2nd. I'm Erin O'Toole. Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, is an ancient cultural tradition that has strong roots in Mexico and is celebrated in many of our northern Colorado communities. The holiday begins on October 31st and goes through today. Not to be confused with All Hallows Eve, it's a way to honor friends and family who've died. People write and recite satirical poems about the dead and create intricate altars known as ofrendas, or offerings. The holiday is also an opportunity to contemplate heritage, identity, and the Indigenous people in Mesoamerica who first practiced this tradition to honor the cycle of life. The city of Longmont, where roughly a quarter of residents are Hispanic or Latino, has been celebrating Dia de los Muertos for more than 20 years. And the Longmont Museum has been the epicenter of the festivities since the beginning. Justin Veach is the museum's curator of public programs.
Well, I wasn't around here in Longmont 20 years ago, but I can tell you that it started off in 2000 as an event that happened at the museum with a single-day exhibition of ofrendas, or altars, and a family day festival with music and performances and that sort of thing.
It has since evolved into a month-long celebration, which wraps up this evening with a special performance in the museum's Stewart Auditorium.
And it's going to be a sort of revisiting the spirit of Day of the Dead through the ages, from ancient Aztec dance to traditional Mexican folk to contemporary, featuring Grupo Huitzilopochtli, Danza Azteca, Las Dalias, and Los Mocachetes, a Denver-based Chicano funk band.
We wanted to learn more about what goes into creating the ofrendas that are on display in the atrium of the museum. We reached out to Patricia Moreno, who works in restorative justice in the Boulder County District Attorney's Office. She's created a number of these ofrendas over the years. She spoke with our producer, Jocelyn Mesa Miranda.
So tell us, for people who don't know, what is an ofrenda?
An ofrenda is a way of being able to honor the lives of your loved ones who have passed on before you, what they left for us, what we've learned from them, and just being able to remember all of the good times that we shared with them. So an ofrenda includes, like copal, incense, marigolds, pictures, papel picado, butterflies, crosses, hummingbirds. And obviously, you want to be able to also include things that the person loved.
Wow, that's amazing. And how did you become involved with creating ofrendas for the Longmont Museum?
So the way that I became involved was actually I was working as a prevention and intervention specialist. And there was a lady there that was working with kids who had lost loved ones. And so she had a grief support group. And then, she just asked me, hey, would you be willing to help me create this altar at the museum? When we showed up and she, showed me kind of the fabrics and the materials that she had, that's when I then started making suggestions of, well, what if we had lights? What if we make it bigger? What if we, kind of like make it stand out? I feel like that has always been something for me. And if you're going to do something, do it with a boom, make it go big. And after that, I waited a couple of years until I really felt motivated and able to say, I can take this on my own.
Nice. And most people create their ofrendas to commemorate their ancestors or loved ones. Are there any other specific themes you're asked to create within the museum exhibit?
So the museum actually allows you to create whatever exhibit or honor whoever it is that you want to honor. And so for the last maybe 4 years, it's been more generic to where we're honoring, kids who overdosed on fentanyl was one of them. And then this year we actually have one for victims of violence. Even the ancestral one, which is the biggest one currently at the Longmont Museum, that was created generally. The way that I've incorporated it into being different is I've invited the community into saying, this is my hope for this year's altar. Would you like to honor one of your loved ones? And this time around, I had over 30 families who reached out and said, can I put my loved one's picture on the altar? I took that as a huge honor because they are trusting me with their loved ones, with that memory on an altar that was created by someone else.
So you're not an artist by trade. You work within the district attorney's office in the field of restorative justice. Can you talk about the role that art plays in your personal life?
So ever since I was little, I loved hair, I loved makeup, I loved anything that sparkled, anything with lights. And so, definitely being able to kind of bring this in. When I was working as an interventionist, it was also bringing that art component in and helping kids to be able to kind of deal with their trauma. And I think personally that is really what it comes down to is, the art piece really helps you heal from whatever traumas you've had in the past and to be able, to create something beautiful out of it.
Right. I bet it feels so nice to have the community trust you and doing this for their loved ones. And we know for many families, this is an important tradition. I don't know if you grew up celebrating Dia de los Muertos. Why do you feel drawn to celebrate it?
So I didn't grow up celebrating Dia de los Muertos. Actually, we grew up in a lot of poverty and, there was no time for the educational piece around Dia de los Muertos. What draws me to it is I don't want to forget, my great grandmother. She was an amazing woman. She was strong. She was a fighter. She was a hard worker. I remember fond memories of her. And so to be able to honor her in this way is very important to me. And I would say it's important for us to remember to not lose our cultura. And what it comes down to is then it's our younger generations, our children, our grandchildren who are losing out and losing more of that contact with where they came from and who they are.
Well, Patricia Moreno, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course, thank you.
The ofrendas are on display through this coming weekend in the atrium of the Longmont Museum. That's where the Noche de Museo celebration of Dia de los Muertos through the ages is happening tonight. That's going to be capped off by a performance from the incomparable Los Mocochetes. Elsewhere, tonight in Boulder, an inaugural Dia de los Muertos procession begins at 5:15 at the new local annex. And in Fort Collins, you can head to Old Town Square tonight and watch the creation of a community altar beginning at 5. We'll have more on all of these festivities in our show notes and at kunc.org. And if you're out and about celebrating Dia de los Muertos, we'd love to see it. Tag us in a photo on Instagram. We're at KUNC915. That's it for us today here on In the NoCo. We'll be back with you tomorrow with more of what's happening in Northern Colorado. Our producer is Jocelyn Mesa Miranda. Robin Vincent is our executive producer. I'm your host, Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.